let's get right into this trial, man. This week of trial was, as I told y'all last week, this is a big week. This is a pivotal week. I said last week was pivotal, but this week is the first. Now, this is the first week that we see after what I consider the most crucial week in the entire trial, right? So, and my bad for spelling Bellnap's name wrong. For whatever reason, when I looked his name up last week, it came up like what I typed, Belt Nap. That's how it came up. So I just used it like that. His name is actually Belk Nap. But I'm assuming, like with a lot of European names, there's a silent letter somewhere. So that K is silent. His Detective Bellnap or Investigator Bellnap. So anyway, so he gets, they start the direct examination of him by the state. And of course, he gets up there and does exactly what we thought he was going to do. He's the expert witness that is pretty much brought back in to show the world and show the jury how Trontavia Stevens was pretty much lying about everything. So that's pretty much what the state did. They went back through everything that Trontavia Stevens said, over his tattoos, over all type of stuff, and just let Detective Bellnap dispute or disregard or argue against everything that Trontavia Stevens said. Even though supposedly he didn't see it, he's not supposed to, I don't think witnesses are supposed to watch other witnesses testify. Pretty sure that's against what's supposed to happen. However, the likelihood of Detective Bellnap not watching is very low. I highly doubt Bellnap has been sitting on the sidelines not watching this trial every day like the rest of us. So he got in there with a clear agenda to let it be known YSL is a gang. They're affiliated with these other gangs. These other people are their friends. These other people are their rivals. And this is a bloody war going on in the streets. He was clearly trying to paint that picture to the jury, right? So, and again, last week I did like 47 minutes about this. Definitely not about to do that this week. I'm gonna try to get through it quick because that took forever. So Bellnap is up there, direct examination. It was very, mundane. It wasn't really anything, because he went up there and pretty much said the same stuff that we knew he was going to say, and a bunch of stuff that he said when he was first up there testifying as an expert witness. So, he went up there and did his thing. Let me see my notes. And then also on direct examination, the state decided that they were going to introduce a bunch of tweets into the scenario. And the tweets, I guess, were to combat the idea that the defense painted when they questioned, or they cross-examined Trontavia Stevens, to pretty much make it seem like YSL is not actually a gang and Young Thug is actually just a studio gangster. He's not really in a gang at all. He's not a street guy at all. So I guess because they're allowed to make a counterpoint to that, they could introduce new evidence, which would be the tweets, because, they can make a counterpoint. And the judge felt like their counterpoint was sufficient. He allowed it. So they brought all these tweets in. They introduced 81 tweets into this thing last minute like this, right? But they ended up only using a few. They didn't use all of them. So they just went through all these tweets, and Young Thug is tweeting a bunch of stuff about, Rock Crew and all these different gangs and stuff like that. So, and of course, because musicians kind of like overlap with the streets and stuff like that, Future's name and 21 Savage's, or Future's crew, FBG, Free Band Gang, and 21's gang, or crew, or whatever you want to call them, also have been mentioned a bunch of times this week, because they reading through tweets, and Young Thug has been tweeting this stuff over the years. So I would say very boring direct examination, just like with many expert witnesses. Plus, it's hard to just like take Bellnap serious just because of the fact that he's there. It's a team thing. So he might as well be a prosecutor, honestly. But I'm not mad at him. He's doing his job. He's a police officer. He's there because he wants to put what he calls criminals in jail. And if he's a gang expert and he also is a gang trainer, gang world is his life. Gangs in Atlanta is his life. So if he feels like you are a gang leader, he wants you in prison. Simple as that. Okay, that's his job. I get it. So now we move on to cross-examination. And the first person who cross-examined him was Attorney Shard, Max Shard. And I don't know if you pronounce that T at the end of his name, but Attorney Shard, right? Who was Shannon Stillwell's attorney. He gets up there And let's see, one of the first things that he wants to establish is that YSL does not resemble any other gang that any of us have ever witnessed. So he pretty much, and I think it's a strange strategy. I'm not gonna lie, because while Max Shard is attempting to still put doubt in the jury's mind that YSL is a gang, I feel like they already have enough evidence to say that YSL is a criminal street gang. First of all, like 10 defendants already took deals saying this is for sure street gang. For sure street gang. So I don't know why spending his time, trying to debunk that is still on the radar. I do know why, because that's like the main charge of this whole thing, being a criminal street gang. But I don't know how effective that's going to be. I don't think anybody at this point is going to change their mind about that YSL being a criminal street gang. And that's why last week I said I don't see them beating us, because that part of it alone is stamped and set in stone. There's too many people that have already agreed, including Trontavious Stevens when he got on the stand for the last few weeks. Too many people have already agreed under oath that that is a criminal street gang. So the charge that the RICO, the conspiracy alone, is the only conviction they need. That's the one that carries the one that can get them a lot of time in prison. So for the people thinking that I was saying that the state had a win here, I wasn't saying it because I just think they have the best arguments. I don't think that. I just think that they did enough to establish that YSL is a street gang. I think to a jury. I'm saying to a jury. So Shard spent his time, debunking that. He was pretty much saying stuff like, so is there an initiation process? What do they have to do to get into YSL? And Bellnap is like, no, they don't I haven't heard of any initiation process. They don't do beat-ins. They don't do sex ins. And for people that don't know, a sex in to a gang is pretty much where they don't want to beat on a woman. So they give her an opportunity to say, all right, let's have a gangbang with you. Or, a group sex, if y'all don't know what a gangbang is. And if you do that, then you're in the gang now. You're initiated. But Bellnap is like, no, they don't do that. I haven't heard of any instances of them doing that. He's like, well, what about getting out of the gang? Do they have any beat out? Do they have anything where where you have to get beat out of the gang? He's like, no, I haven't heard anything like that. He's like, what about Shard? Attorney Shard is like, do they get violated for false flagging or anybody improperly claiming it? Do they get violated for anything like that? He's like, no. Then he's like, well, I have heard some instances in schools. And Shard is like, you're talking about children? He said juveniles. Bellnap is like, juveniles. He was like, but you mean children though? He's like, well, yeah, juveniles. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting back and forth right there. Because why, what's wrong with the word children? Children fighting over whose crew they're a part of, these older people that none of them are a part of it. They're just kids thinking that they could claim something. So it's highly unlikely that had anything to do with the actual gang. So we established they don't have false flagging violations. They don't have initiations to get in. They don't have initiations to get out. They quote unquote hybrid. So there's people from all types of gangs inside this one gang. So Shard did do a good job, like pretty much giving doubt to say this don't even really make sense as a gang. It doesn't make sense as a gang. The problem is the amount of people who already admitted to it. So I'm not saying that Attorney Shard did a bad job making his case. I'm saying that too many people already said, yes, it is, that are involved. Anyway, though, and then Attorney Shard, you remember I talked about that whole mic drop thing where you do something it's going to be objected to, but you still get it off just to get in front of the jury, and then you just walk off. So he did that. Attorney Shard said he put a picture on the screen. He said, do you know who this is right here? He said his name. He was like, do you know what else he goes by? He said, yeah, he goes by YSL Mondo. He said, yeah, did you know that YSL Mondo claims to be a founder of YSL? He said, yeah, I know about that. He said, did you know he wasn't indicted on this case at all? He wasn't one of the defendants. He wasn't one of the 28 defendants on this case at all. He was like, yeah, I knew about that. He was like, is it true that Fani Willis defended him? And then there was a bigger uproar. Oh, hey, objection, Your Honor. They're like, the judge said sustained, and then Shard just walked off. So this is one of those because I remember hearing about that when the case was first starting, but I didn't know the name of the person who she actually was defending. So I didn't realize that. I forgot all about that detail right there. That she actually, so the conspiracy theory was, while she was defending YSL Mondo as a defense attorney, because before she became a DA, she worked in other capacities. So while she was a defense attorney for YSL Mondo, she found out a bunch of stuff that YSL was involved with because she was defending one of their leaders. She found out a bunch of stuff. And then when she became DA, she made it her mission to go out. That was like the first thing she did when she, like, with maybe 6 months into her being in the position she's in, Fulton County District Attorney, they had a case on them. But the person that she had the most information from, her former client, he's not on the case, even though he's a founder, supposed founder in this thing. Right? So it's like, so the conspiracy theory is that she got all this information and then she used it to indict them. And I also kind of agree with that a little bit too, because I'm in a position where I feel like this makes sense why they don't really have real evidence. They're going off of stuff that they know from insider knowledge that they're not supposed to be knowing or using. Attorney-client privilege. They know information, but they don't have evidence to back up the information. So they can't just come out and just say everything they know. They don't have evidence for it. So I think it was amazing that Attorney Shard did that and walked off like that. Because first of all, it doesn't even have anything to do with Bellnap at all. But it's just like, let me get at this expert witness and make him say it. Let me make him talk about YSL Mondo. Let me make him be the one I ask about Fani Willis defending this man, because that's striking. That's something that's going to stand out to anybody, especially a jury. That's going to stand out like, hold on, I do remember those theories about, because of course, before they got chosen to be on the jury, they was on social media just like the rest of us, looking at everything, especially if they live in Fulton County, which they do. So I think that was good to just throw out there. Of course, it was sustained as an objection and it's not supposed to be considered. But we already know that once you get something in your head, it's not coming out. So now what the jury is going to do with that information, I'm not sure.